It had been 4 months since Dylan and I shifted to a long-distance arrangement. At first, it was exciting. Late-night calls, digital dates, the anticipation of seeing each other again. But lately, our conversations had turned mechanical, like checking off a box. I miss feeling wanted. I miss the warmth. I miss being seen. And then there was Caleb. He moved into the apartment just a month after Dylan left the city. Tall, athletic, annoyingly confident. Caleb wasn't the quiet type. The first time I met him, he'd waltz into the kitchen shirtless, said something sarcastic about my coffee addiction, and grinned like he already owned the place. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself it was just his way, bold, loud, and shamelessly flirtatious with everyone. But over time, things started to feel different. He'd linger longer when we talked. He'd playfully bump into me in narrow hallways. He always left his door open at night, music low, just enough for me to hear it as I passed. It was like he was inviting me to notice him, and maybe I was. Maybe, in moments of weakness, I let my mind wander where it shouldn't. I told myself nothing would happen. I had Dylan. Even if things felt strained lately, even if I couldn't remember the last time we said, "I miss you," and truly meant it, he was still mine. That meant something. Tonight had been harder than usual. Dylan canceled our Friday night call again. Said he had to rest early for some work thing in the morning. No apology, no sweetness. Just a text. And like a fool, I typed out "it's okay. Love you." But he didn't even reply. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Headphones still in, but the playlist long over. I thought I heard Caleb laughing from his room earlier. Probably still awake. I didn't want to think about what or who he might be texting. Then I heard the knock. Soft, hesitant. 3 a.m. My heart jumped. I sat up. For a second, I just listened. Maybe I imagined it. But then came another knock, gentle, but certain. I got up and opened the door. Caleb stood there, barefoot, wearing a loose hoodie and basketball shorts. His hair was a little messy, eyes drowsy but alert. "Hey," he said, voice low. "Did I wake you?" I blinked. "No. I mean, kind of. What's wrong?" He shrugged, leaned on the frame. I thought I heard something. Like crying. I didn't respond. He looked at me with a quiet intensity that made my chest tighten. "I'm fine," I said quickly. "Just couldn't sleep." He tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing. "You sure?" I nodded, but my throat was dry. There was a pause. He glanced into my room, then back at me. "Mind if I come in for a sec?" I hesitated. Just a beat. Then stepped aside. He walked in like he belonged there, sitting on the edge of my bed like he'd done it before. I closed the door softly behind him. "What are you listening to?" he asked, pointing at my phone still playing through one earbud. "Nothing. It stopped a while ago." He nodded. I figured. "You looked distant." I sat beside him but left space between us. The silence wasn't awkward. It was full of questions neither of us had the courage to ask. "I had a rough night," I admitted quietly. "Want to talk about it?" "Not really. Just relationship stuff. Dylan's been different lately." He didn't push. Just sat with me. That meant more than any advice. I looked at him, really looked at him. The curve of his jaw. The way the hoodie hugged his shoulders. The way his fingers fiddled with the seam of my blanket. "I don't know what I'm doing anymore," I said. "Sometimes I feel like I'm in a relationship with a ghost." He turned to me slowly. "You ever wonder if you deserve more?" That made me swallow hard. His eyes searched mine, and suddenly I felt exposed. Like he could see everything. My loneliness, my doubt, my hunger to feel something again. "I should get some sleep," I said, breaking eye contact. He nodded. "Yeah, me too." But he didn't move. We sat there, both pretending we didn't feel it. The electricity, the pull, the unsaid things hanging between us like heavy smoke. When he finally stood up, he turned back and said, "If you ever need someone, I'm right next door." Then he was gone, and I sat there, wide awake, heart racing, because deep down, I knew something had shifted, and there was no going back. The next day was a blur. I avoided Caleb. I wasn't sure why. Nothing had happened. Not really. But everything felt charged now, like even sharing the same space would spark something neither of us could contain. Every sound from his room, drawers opening, footsteps, even the sound of his laughter through the wall, pulled at my attention. I hated how aware I was of him. And yet, a part of me hoped he'd knock again. I busied myself with errands. Laundry, cleaning the already clean kitchen. I even called Dylan, but it went to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. By evening, I found myself sitting on the couch, flipping through the same 3 shows on Netflix without watching a single one. The apartment felt too quiet, too still. Then I heard Caleb's door open behind me. "Mind if I join?" he asked, holding a bowl of cereal. I looked up. He was in gray joggers, no shirt this time, just casually confident. It was infuriating. I shrugged. "Sure." He dropped beside me, too close for comfort, but I didn't move. "Watch anything good?" he asked, mouthful. "Not really, just background noise." He smirked. "You always watch stuff when your head's somewhere else." I rolled my eyes. "You know me that well, huh?" "Better than you think." We sat in silence for a while, the glow of the TV flickering across his face. He leaned back, stretching his arms. One rested casually behind me on the couch. I pretended not to notice. "You seem off today," he said quietly. I glanced at him. "Do I?" He nodded, like you're trying really hard not to think about something. I sighed. "Maybe." There was a long pause before he said, "Last night, did I cross a line?" I wasn't expecting that. I looked at him, and for once, he looked unsure. "No," I said, maybe too quickly. "You didn't." "Because if I did, I'll back off. I mean it." I hesitated. "You didn't cross a line, but maybe I'm scared of where it could lead." He nodded slowly. "I get that." We locked eyes, and something passed between us, something unspoken but undeniable. "I've never done anything like this before," I admitted, "not while in a relationship." "But you thought about it," he said softly. "Last night." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. He shifted, turned to face me fully. "Look, I'm not trying to mess with your life, Jamie. I know you're with someone. I know what this looks like. But I'm not playing." There was a weight to his words. He wasn't being cocky or flirtatious. He was being real. "I don't know what I'm doing," I whispered. "Then let me help you figure it out," he said, and leaned in. Our lips met before I could think. It wasn't fast or hungry. It was slow, almost hesitant, like a question waiting for an answer. I should have stopped it. I should have pulled away. But I didn't. His hand slid gently to the back of my neck, his thumb grazing my jaw. My whole body tensed, not from fear, but from how right it felt, how wrong it was. I kissed him back. The world disappeared. There was no Dylan, no guilt, no logic, just warmth, pressure, breath, and the overwhelming sense that I was finally seen. When we broke apart, we both stayed still, foreheads touching. "This is bad," I said, breath shaky. He smiled faintly. "Then why does it feel so good?" I pulled back, heart pounding. "I need to think." He nodded, standing up without protest. "I'll give you space. But just know, I meant that." "What?" "That I see you, and I want you, not just because you're hurting, but because you're you." Then he walked away again, leaving me with silence louder than anything else. I sat on the couch, fingers still tingling. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Dylan. "Hey, sorry I've been distant. Work's been hell. I miss you." I stared at the screen, unsure whether to laugh or cry, because just minutes ago, someone else had touched me in a way Dylan hadn't in months, and I let him. And now, I wasn't sure who I was missing anymore. The next few days passed in a strange haze. I didn't know how to act, and neither did Caleb. We didn't talk about the kiss. We didn't talk about that moment on the couch, or the lingering touch, or the way he looked at me like he'd been waiting for that night to happen. But we also didn't go back to normal. We moved around each other in silence, not avoidance exactly, just a careful, quiet awareness. I noticed when he came home late. I noticed when he made coffee in the morning and didn't offer me a cup like he used to. I noticed everything now, and every detail made my heart feel heavier. Then Dylan called. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a voicemail. It was an actual call, voice shaking a little, saying he'd booked a weekend flight, said he missed me and wanted to make things right. He didn't mention how distant he'd been, or how many nights I'd fallen asleep with my phone on my chest waiting for a reply. I told him it was okay, that I was happy he was coming. But even as I said it, I didn't know if I meant it. That night, I found Caleb in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, eating cereal again like nothing had changed. But everything had. I heard you on the phone, he said without turning. Dylan's coming. Yeah, I replied, suddenly unsure of my own voice. He finally turned, eyes soft but unreadable. That's good, right? I didn't answer. He exhaled through his nose, looked down at his bowl. I didn't plan for any of this. Jamie, I wasn't trying to get in between anything. I know, I said. I don't blame you. He leaned back, arms crossed now. Then why do you look like you're drowning every time I walk into the room? That stung, not because it was cruel, but because it was true. I don't know what I'm feeling, I admitted. With Dylan, I feel safe, familiar, like I know who I'm supposed to be. But with you, with me, it's dangerous, he finished for me. No, I said quickly. With you, I feel awake, and that scares me. He looked at me like he wanted to say something, maybe 100 things, but instead he just nodded. I'm not gonna push you, he said quietly. I care about you too much for that. And then he walked past me, brushing my shoulder lightly, not lingering, just enough to remind me he was still there. The night before Dylan arrived, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed staring at a framed photo of Dylan and me, taken 2 years ago on a beach trip. We were smiling, arms wrapped around each other, sunburned and happy. I remember that version of us. I missed him, but I wasn't sure I still was him. I turned the photo face down. In the middle of the night, I heard Caleb's door creak open. Soft footsteps padded across the hallway floor. For a moment, I thought he might knock again, like he did that first night. But he didn't. The steps paused, then moved away. It was better that way. The next morning, Dylan arrived. His smile was familiar. His hug was warm. His scent pulled at something deep inside me. And for a moment, I let myself believe everything would go back to the way it was. We spent the day out, coffee shops, bookstores, takeout in the park. We laughed, kissed, even held hands like we used to. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I felt Caleb's presence like a quiet echo. That night, Dylan slept beside me, his arm draped around my waist. And though his touch was comforting, it didn't set my skin alight the way Caleb's had. At 2:40 a.m., I opened my eyes, not because of noise, not because of movement, but because something in my chest felt wrong, or maybe just real. I got out of bed and walked into the hallway. Caleb's door was closed. A thin line of light spilled out from under it. I stood there for a full minute, heart pounding. Then I turned around and went back to bed, because no matter how much I wanted to knock, I already knew that if I did, I wouldn't be ready for what happened next again.